Good evening. I call to order the regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Burr Ridge for Monday, September 13, 2021. I'm going to ask Andres Beltran to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Andres. Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis?
Here.
Trustee Schiappa?
Here.
Trustee Paveza?
Here.
Trustee Snyder?
Here.
Trustee Mattal? Here. Trustee Smith?
Here.
Mayor Grasso?
Here.
Everyone's here.
It being 7:01 p.m., I call to order the public hearing regarding the approval of a business plan for the Village of Burr Ridge Downtown Business District, the designation of the Village of Burr Ridge Business District, and the imposition of a business district retail occupation tax, a business district service occupation tax, and a business district hotel operators occupation tax. Anybody in the public wish to address the board on this business district, the designation of it, and the tax and taxes related to it? This is not property tax, it's a business tax. Yes, sir, come on up, state your name, identify yourself. Yes. You know, I know we're under a mask mandate, but I think anybody who's coming up to speak tonight, because people are also watching.
Sure.
So please take it off if you don't mind.
Yeah, happy to do
Just
so.
state your name again and your affiliation. Thank you.
Sure. My name is Dave Pelzat. I'm the superintendent at Pleasantdale School District 107.
And I think we're going to take the sanitizing stuff down from your face,
Take it
okay?
down.
Yeah, just so people can see. Thank you very much.
Better give me a broom, I'm gonna start cleaning
Yeah,
up.
see what happens when you're the first person up, but thank you. David, go ahead.
So in regards to the development of a business district or the continuation of a development of the business district in downtown Burr Ridge, I wanted to speak as an administrator, not as from the board perspective for School District 107.
Sure.
In conversations with some of the staff at Burr Ridge, I understand that this proposal would develop the downtown area and create some additional revenue for the school district, but the burden of additional students would be minimal. From an administrative standpoint, anything that increases revenue but does not increase burden is always something that is a positive thing for schools. And I just wanted to speak the proposal, as I understand it, kind of has that magic kind of balance of increasing revenue without necessarily looking at increasing student enrollment. So something in that case that we'd be very supportive of.
This is
From an administrative standpoint, again, not speaking for my
right,
board.
and so the public understands this would be an increase in the sales tax and the hotel occupancy tax for the one hotel that's in the business downtown district. This is essentially the village center and County Line Square. Hopefully in the future, also what we call the TCF property. Hopefully that will get developed, and I have a little bit more to say about that tonight. And so that's what it is. It's not a property tax. It's a sales and use kind of tax in that area, and that's how you understand
Very
it,
beneficial to the district.
right? Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Matt Rush. I'm the Executive Director of the Pleasantdale Park District. I had the privilege last week of attending the Economic Development Committee meeting. I'd been online, so I've seen the full report that you had done as far as the proposals and what's in play. I came to that meeting and speak in great favor of the plans that are in place. Tonight I'm here in front of the larger group to, again, on the Park District's behalf, put our full support behind this endeavor. It's been one of my personal goals for the district for many years for us to have a presence, Pleasantdale Park District presence, in that Village Center area. Because as you know, we start at County Line and go over this way. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So for me, it's of great importance to try to have that presence there. And I've had some preliminary conversations with Mr. Walter. I think there's a lot of wonderful possibilities that lay ahead. And I'm just here to support that. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else in the audience that would like to address the board in this public hearing? Yes.
Hi, good evening. Ramsey Hassan, Edwards Realty Company, with the ownership of the Village Center. Just wanted to come this evening to express our support as the Village Center for this initiative. I'm also part of the Economic Development Committee, and a lot of the ideas and things that have been talked about and how this money can be used, I think is nothing but positive for Burr Ridge. Just in my experience with owning the Village Center and where the customer base comes from, a lot of it is outside of Burr Ridge, so what this will be doing is bringing more money to Burr Ridge and to the residents of Burr Ridge, and beautifying the area from a lot of people coming outside to shop inside of town. So we like to draw, and are going to be drawing, from a 10 to 20 mile radius. So I think this will really help with a lot of the initiatives that we already have and ideas of the village board and staff, kind of speed those things up and get them to fruition. So thank you.
So, Ramsey, let me ask you a couple questions just so the public understands. The Village Center, which we've had the great luxury of having it here for about 10 years now, it still, however, has not ever been fully occupied, and many areas of it, probably 30% of it, you can correct me, has not been even initially rented. How will this help you to bring tenants to the Village Center and to Burr Ridge and increase our revenue base?
Sure. So, you know, a lot of things that you spoke of, the Village Center came online in 2008, right as the recession hit. We were not part of the ownership at the time. So we knew that coming in only about 2 years ago that there was a lot of heavy lifting to do to bring this center that was really designed, 20 years beforehand into the modern age of the modern shopper and, and resident and patron. So a lot of the things, that we can do and have done, bringing in tenants with our marketing, leasing, the things that we can benefit from this program would be a lot of the public infrastructure. So the Village Green, it can be used for marketing and special events and those kind of things for the public. Parking, doing upgrades to the parking garages, and signage, I think, is a major thing as well. That was the #1 complaint we would get from people. We never knew the Village Center was here. And so I think, and not just signage throughout the Village Center, wayfinding, but really through the whole district that we're talking about, and that's what's going to link everything together. Because really the Village Center on its own, it's great, but it can be even better and really reach its maximum potential by having complementary uses around it. There's a development parcel, right next to us that I think would greatly benefit if, a developer knew that there was these kind of mechanisms in place that would give Burr Ridge an edge maybe over a neighboring municipality. So I think those kind of things, so you're always looking for some kind of an edge and, with as less impact as possible to the residents. And I'm, never for really raising taxes, but this is really a consumption tax that most people won't even know the difference, and we're getting it from outside of Burr Ridge anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, 1 second, Ramsey, please. Trustee Francis has a question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So in speaking with your retail clients, your retail occupants in the Village Center, the brick and mortar stores, do they feel that this a proposed 1% increase in tax will hurt their sales?
No, this has been kind of on the table and in the works for a while within the EDC, and we have not, and we've put out all the information to our tenants, and we have not received one, I guess, concern, I would say, about that potentially affecting their sales. I think it's almost the opposite. They're yearning for a little bit more, to kind of happen in the area. So the impact, will the benefits will far outweigh the impact, I think.
Thank you.
is what I've been told. Thank you.
And that is consistent with the 2 or 3 retail tenants that I've heard from in the Village Center and elsewhere. That's consistent. Anybody else have a question?
I just
Yes,
had a
Anita?
question. So that applies to restaurants and hotels and all.
In the, yes, in our downtown area, which is, of course, 90% or not 95% of our retail, restaurants, stores, and the one hotel that's down there, not the other 4 that are on the Dupage side.
The Marriott.
Right. We still have that hotel motel tax from all 5 of them, but there will be, we'll get an additional small percentage from Marriott. Is that right? Correct. Okay.
Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Yes, please come on up.
Alice Krampitz, 7515 Drew. Just a couple questions. I think you just answered some of it, though, Mayor, because your ordinance said consideration of an ordinance for the village of Burr Ridge, Cook, and Dupage counties. So we're not including Dupage County in any of this. You're not planning on getting a tax for those hotels?
No, our downtown has always been defined, even though, and we always have to say as Dupage and Cook counties, you know, that because that's where we are geographically, but the downtown is what the residents would commonly call the village center,
Right.
County Line Square, and what I call the TCF property, which is the TCF vacant building and that 16 acres, and the Marriott Hotel, which is a little bit further down. Not anything on the Dupage side.
Okay, so we don't think that that's going to hurt the Marriott Hotel when everybody goes across the street to stay, or?
We don't. It's a different hotel from the other 4. It gets a different clientele base. For example, you know, but for the pandemic, we were going to have the BMW golf tournament. Many of the players were going to be staying there at that hotel, and that hotel, as far as I understand, is not opposed to this.
So my other question, thank you. My other question is, what is the role of the Plan Commission going to be in this? Because right now, everything we hear is going on only at the board level of the trustees. Will the Plan Commission be involved, and will all these developments that you're planning on have to follow the same procedures that we normally do for things? So you guys aren't going to be the only deciding people making the decisions. It would have, still
Absolutely
have
not.
to go before a Plan Commission and follow our ordinances.
To the, you know, when someone wants a variance or a special use, facades or decorations or whatever in the past, whatever traditionally has had to go to the Plan Commission will still go to the Plan Commission. This in no way eliminates them or bypasses them in any way. This will hopefully give them more work, to tell you the truth. What we want is more businesses coming here, more tenants coming here, and we have this economic package maybe as an engine for them to want to come here. The days of just sitting back and just expecting businesses to come, those are way past us. This is trying to get businesses who want to come to Burr Ridge. And then if they're asking for anything special, they still have to go through the normal process and go to the Plan Commission.
Okay, and I don't really understand how the school district is going to benefit from a restaurant sales tax. How do they get their money for that?
I'm going to let Evan, who
Okay.
understands it a little better than I do.
Well, the
Since
schools,
it's not a property tax.
well, the schools are funded by property taxes, as the
Right.
Park District is.
Right.
The basic premise is that the property values of existing properties will rise as the downtown develops, and then anything additional that's developed on the TCF lot or any other parcel or at an existing parcel would have a higher property tax value, thereby remitting more revenue to the school district at
Okay,
that
so you're
point.
making an assumption that the taxes are going to go up because
Well, any
No property values.
property values.
property values.
So the tax doesn't need to go up because there's more EAV to tax from
Okay.
in a district.
But definitely not a guarantee. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I was hoping to see someone from County Line Square here tonight. Oh, so I'd like to get your perspective on that.
My name's John Garber. My dad is Bob Garber. He's the owner of County Line Square. And we are entirely in favor of the tax happening. We think it's going to be a benefit to us as well as our neighboring partners, as well as the whole downtown of Burr Ridge. We think it's important. Burr Ridge needs a downtown. They want a downtown. And I think if you live in the area, it should be beneficial for everyone. But we are in favor of it.
Okay. So you understand how it works, and for the same reasons that Mr. Hassan and the others have spoken, it would benefit also your ability. I know you have a number of stores that are vacant right now.
Not many.
A few, not many, but a few. And you know, you do have them from time to time, like any retail center. This should be able to help you bring in some future tenants.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We want our and their center to survive and thrive and play off of each other.
Okay.
We think it's a benefit.
All right. Any questions of Mr. Garber? Okay, John, thank you. Appreciate you coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Did we get anybody sending in any emails or anything, Evan?
I received no public comment ahead of the meeting or during the meeting.
Okay, did any trustees want to make any comments? Anybody heard from anybody in opposition to this in any way? Okay, with that, can I get is there anybody else that would like to speak on this? Okay, if not, then I need a motion to close the public hearing on the new downtown business district.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Franzese?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, so that closes the public hearing on the downtown business district. All right, that takes us to item 4, the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda, discussed by the board, open for public comment, and voted upon during this meeting. 5 minutes. A, approval of regular board meeting of August 23, 2021. B, receive and file economic development meeting, of September 1, 2021. 6, ordinances. We have nothing on the consent agenda. 7, resolutions. A, approval of a resolution approving and ratifying the execution of an employment, retirement, and release agreement. B, approval of a resolution appointing authorized agent for Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund purposes. And 8, considerations. B, approval of recommendation to award contracts for the Pump Center Controls upgrade to Automatic Control Services, Inc. of Naperville, Illinois, in the amount of $38,863, and to Dorner Company of Sussex, Wisconsin, in the amount not to exceed $31,460. C, approval of the creation of the position of part-time building assistant in the administration department, and to direct the village administrator to fill said position. And D, approval of vendor list dated September 13, 2021, in the amount of $231,969.35 for all funds, plus $212,483.37 for payroll for the period ending August 21, 2021, for a grand total of $444,452.72, which includes special expenditures of $32,791.50 to John Neary Construction, Inc. for the Chasemore Lift Station rehabilitation. With that, can I get a motion to approve the following items on the consent agenda? 5A and B, 7A and B, 8B, C, and D.
So move.
Second.
Any comment? Roll call, please.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes, approving the consent agenda items. That takes us to item 6, ordinances. A, consideration of an ordinance of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook and DuPage Counties, Illinois, approving a business district plan for the Village of Burr Ridge Downtown Business District. Evan?
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the ordinance before you that would adopt a official business district plan for the village. It is part of state law that says with every business district, the municipality must adopt a corresponding plan as to its legal reasoning and for the purpose of uses of its funds that it may collect for the establishment of a plan. If there are any questions, the author of the plan, Jeff Dickinson with SB Freeman, is present tonight to explain or answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, first we start always with the board. Any questions from any of the board members? Seeing none. Any questions from anybody in the public, in the audience? We get any emails or anything on this?
No, we did not.
Okay. All right. With that, can I get a motion to approve the ordinance of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook and DuPage Counties, Illinois, approving a business district plan for the Village of Burr Ridge Downtown Business District? So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further comment? Roll call, please.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes. That takes us to 6B, consideration of an ordinance of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook and DuPage Counties, Illinois, designating the Village of Burr Ridge Downtown Business District. How is this different from the other one?
Establishes the boundaries.
It establishes, okay. So one establishes the plan. This one now is establishing the boundaries. Put up the boundaries again, please, Evan. So 6B establishes the boundaries, as the public can see. And as the question was asked, this is all within the Cook County side of the Village of Burr Ridge. It is commonly what we all call the Village Center, County Line Square, the TCF property, and it also includes the Marriott Hotel on the county, on the Cook side. Do I have any questions of any of the trustees as to what the boundaries of this district is? Any questions from the public? Did we get any emails?
No.
Okay, then can I get a motion to adopt the ordinance?
There's a question.
I'm sorry,
No, I raised my hand late, my mistake. So I had a comment, not a question.
okay.
So previously, one of the residents had made a comment about how they didn't see how the property values would increase on certain parcels.
Well, to be fair, I think she said there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee.
We
So-
know there's only death and taxes are guaranteed.
Okay, so when we talk about property taxes, especially in Cook County, vacant land such as the parcel on the northeast corner, yes, that one up there, and also the north half of the TCF, northern 2/3 of the TCF property, those are taxed at one rate. When the property is improved with improvements, whether it's a parking lot or an office building or whatever is going to go in there at some time in the future, there is a tax on the improvements as well. So my point is that should anything be developed there above and beyond what's there today, there would be an increase in the assessed valuation of that property, and therefore the taxes would increase as well.
Right, and substantially, of course.
Substantially.
It would be a substantial increase in value, and then that's
Thank you.
that inures to the benefit of the Park District and the schools.
Correct, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that point forward. Anybody else? Okay, then can I get a motion to approve an ordinance of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook and DuPage Counties, Illinois, designating the Village of Burr Ridge Downtown Business District?
So moved.
Second.
Any comment or any questions from any of the trustees? Any comment from the public? Did we get any emails?
We received no public comment.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes. That takes us to 6C. Consideration of an ordinance of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook and DuPage Counties, Illinois, imposing a business district retailer's occupation tax and a business district service occupation tax within the Village of Burr Ridge Downtown Business District. I think this is self-explanatory. It's consistent with what we just discussed. However, do any members of the board have any questions or comments? Yes, Tony.
As a member of the EDC, now I'm chairing the committee, I've experienced nothing but positive conversations about the district from especially the businesses and some residents in the area, and I think this is a plan and a district that will move the village forward, and it will help us in those situations where we need to separate ourselves from other villages, especially attracting developers and tenants to the village here. So I think it'll be a great plan, and I'm excited to see it. Let's go forward.
Great, thank you. Yes, Trustee Francis.
Yes, thank you. My main concern about the increase in sales tax, if that would have a detrimental effect on the precious retail sales that we have now, was that concern was satisfied by Mr. Hassan and by Mr. Garber. So thank you.
Right. And I think also, if I recall, we did even ask the businesses, did they feel it was going to impact them? And those that responded said no. They felt that it would be not anything that would detract from their sales. And the same thing is what I understand from Marriott.
Thank you.
It's incremental, it is an increase, but it also all inures to the benefit of our ability to attract new business and new tenants to the Village of Burr Ridge, where today you must be competitive. Yes, Anita?
I just have a comment that I think this proposal is going to bring more activity to the center, more feet on the street, so as a result, more business and more sales for the businesses. So I think that should be good for all the business all around, and it would neutralize the effect of increased tax.
Okay. Any comment from the public? Yes?
Just quickly, when is the anticipated date we're going to start?
Sure, we can, we'll explain why the law does require certain dates be met. Good question, Evan.
So there are two deadlines that the village must meet, one every 6 months. We should register this, should it be approved by October 1st of this year. The taxes would commence on January 1st, 2022. So there would be some time between when this would be approved, which is appearing to be tonight, as well between then and when the taxes begin to be imposed.
And then we don't start receiving them until about April or May?
And then we would actually see, correct, thank you, Mayor. The revenue would not be received by the village until April. That's because the state holds it for 3 months in advance and then sends us checks in reserve. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the public? Did we get any emails?
We received no public comment on this item.
Okay, roll call, please.
I don't know if you got a motion.
We didn't get a
Did-
motion.
Did we?
I don't think
No.
so.
Okay, and jumping the gun, I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion.
Second. And we got a second from Pavesa, motion by Skiappa. Any further comment? Any further public comment? Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes. Takes us to 6D, consideration of an ordinance of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook and DuPage Counties, Illinois, imposing a business district hotel operator's occupation tax within the Village of Burr Ridge Downtown Business District. This again is self-explanatory. The Marriott is the only one that would be affected by this, or any other hotels, which frankly we have some inquiries about that one corner that was up there, that was up that 2.5 acre site, and also TCF. Those tires have been kicked from time to time, so that's not something that may be unexpected coming forward. So there might be an additional hotel in downtown Burr Ridge. We don't know, but that would also apply to them should it happen. And so right now, however, it's just a Marriott downtown. So any further questions or comments on any of the trustees? Any comments from the public on this, the hotel tax? All right, can I get a motion to approve the ordinance of the Village of Burr Ridge, Cook and DuPage Counties imposing a business district hotel operators occupation tax within the Village of Burr Ridge downtown business district?
So moved.
Who moved? Russ. Second, Snyder. Okay, any further comment? Any further public comment? Any emails?
We received no public comment on this item.
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes?
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes. That takes us to 8 considerations. A, consideration of status of series of 2017 debt certificates. Evan?
Thank you, Mayor. So when we say Series 2017 debt certificates, I am going to be referring to the outstanding debt that is being held by the village on the police station. The police station was originally constructed in 2009. There were a variety of financing opportunities that the village took advantage of, including mostly equity-based financing to actually finance the project. They're listed there. There's 4 main bullet points. In effect, we paid $5 million for a new police station in 2009. That debt's been refinanced twice. 2012 we refinanced, and again in 2017, thus making the 2017 debt certificates before you tonight. Those 2017 debt certificates have a call date of December 15th, 2022, meaning we have to make a decision on how to proceed with that debt certificates by December 15th, 2021 in order to continue being in good standing with our financing. There are 3 options before you tonight as to how we can continue to be in good standing regarding that debt. They are, in summary, to refinance the entire Series 2017 debt certificates, refinance a portion of those debt certificates, or retire the debt outright. And by retire the debt, I mean simply pay off the debt. So I just want to provide a little bit of background and structure as to what we're actually talking about when we're talking about the debt being held. So at this time, we have about $6 million of outstanding debt on the police station. However, the village holds about $4.8 million of fund balance within the debt service fund. We have a designated fund within our budgetary structure which accounts for all the debt service interest payments, interest income from the fund balance, et cetera. All that's contained separately in the general fund. So it's not commingled with our services that are generally provided through the general service fund or the water fund, et cetera. So we have a gap or a delta of about $1.3 million between the fund balance in the debt service and the outstanding service payments that need to be made on the overall Series 2017 debt certificates. And that is what's being discussed tonight, is what are the options available to the board to either continue to fund those, retire those, or refund in partial form. Very quickly, the first, refinancing the 2017 debt certificates in whole. This would mean that we'd be taking an entirely new, basically bond format. We'd be shopping debt for the entire parcel at that point. As I believe the board is generally aware, interest rates are extremely competitive right now. We believe that an interest rate below 2%, 200 basis points, is entirely realistic given our very fine credit rating. We're currently rated as AA1, and I want to be clear, AA1 is the credit rating that was actually assigned to the debt. It's not necessarily a village general rating. We can get something called an issuer rating that assigns our credit rating overall. But the AA1 actually is assigned to the credit on the debt. So that basically means we have a very, very high capacity to pay off debt, almost no concern about paying that off in any capacity. Competitive bond sale take about...
Let me put a footnote on that.
Please.
That is about as high as you can get. The only reason you can't get AAA anymore at a municipal level is because of the police pension debt that everybody in the state of Illinois has. Even when I was on the Dupage County Board that had a AAA rating all the time, it went down to the AA plus, again, because they had the sheriff's pension. every municipality. Of course, we're in relatively great shape compared to the rest of Illinois, but that's the ding all the time is the police pension, fire pension debt, public service debt on a municipality. We only have the police in our community because we, you know, the fire districts are not within the village of Burr Ridge. So I'm sorry for that long editorial,
No.
but we have as high as you can get.
No, I appreciate that. No. We have a bond counsel called Chapman and Cutler. We've used them before. They estimate that a competitive bond sale in the open market would take about 6 to 8 weeks to complete, therefore giving us enough time to competitively shop ahead of our call date of December 15th. We estimate that new cost of issuance would be one-time fees of $65,000. The annual net cost of option one, that is to say refinancing the entire option, would be no more than $30,000 a year. We're trying to be very conservative. Again, our policy is to estimate higher and have it come in lower. But we believe we'd be very competitive on the open market if we wanted to refinance the entire option and possibly save money. The second option would be to finance the unfunded portion of the Series 2017 debt certificates. This basically means that we'd be taking the fund balance, paying off that portion of the outstanding debt, and funding the remaining balance of about $1.3 million. We feel that we have more options to finance in this particular set of scenarios, but at the same time, our costs on an annual basis would be higher than in option one. It'd be cheaper to get this because the bond would be less valuable, about $1.3 million. We could get it from different sources, but then we wouldn't have the fund balance to necessarily pay the income on the debt service itself. Right now, we have almost no outstanding debt payments every year from a net perspective because we have the fund balance to help fund all those initial payments up front, the interest payments from the fund balance, that is. So again, we incur about $50,000 on the open market or $25,000 in issuance costs through a private placement through our bank, Fifth Third Bank. But again, we estimate we'd have about $75,000, possibly $80,000 in annual carrying costs. So from an annual perspective, this is more expensive. Option three would be simply to retire the Series 2017 bonds. We would be using at the end of the day, equity from the general fund to apply to the outstanding portion, again, about $1.3 million. This would mean that we become debt-free, entirely debt-free as a village. We would be using about $1.3 million of general fund equity. We would remain above our minimum 20% rating, and we would not have any credit issues according to Moody's. That's something we always want to look at. Moody's always says, are you liquid? Do you have enough equity to continue to pay your bills? Moody would say if you use $1.3 million to pay off your debt, you would have no issues with your credit. They would say you would still maintain enough credit online, that is to say enough fund balance to continue to maintain healthy operations, and have no concerns about maintaining our positive financial status at this point. However, the item that really is outstanding in this is that we don't take advantage of any of the good interest rates that are on the market today because we'd be retiring all that money out now. Our finance consultant, Anne-Marie Mampa, is here. She'd be here to answer any additional questions I may not have talked about. She's a longtime CFO and has a lot of experience in these placements. She'd be happy to answer further questions you have. I have nothing further. Thank you.
So questions first from any of the board members. And of course, I think the way Evan presented the second option was to refinance the 1.3. We could, with $6 million in debt, we could pay down $1 million and refi the $5 million. We could, there are other combinations that we could use if that's what we wanted to. The good news about all of this discussion is we have all of these great options because of the fiscal strength of this village. People always pointed, well, you've got a $6 million debt in that police department, and they never told the other part of the story, which was that the village boards before you and all the way back have always been put money on the side, which is why there's $4.7 million we could pay today and only have 1.3. And that's the real number. Those that wanted to misinform the public would always say you've got $6 million in debt, which is a true statement, but they never told the other part of it was that we had $4 million, $4.5, $4.7 million to use to pay it off. So it's because of the fiscal strength of this village that we have all of these options to discuss. So I'm sorry, Al, you had a question.
Well, the question is, basically, rather than paying it off, like I said, when everything figures out. In the past, whenever we had a problem like this, due to the extremely good financial rating that the village gets, we usually could get bonds, interest on the bonds a lot cheaper than if we took the 5 million that we have in reserve and we got interest on that. We would always make money. So in the past, we would do that rather than paying off if there was enough difference where we could make a lot more money by not paying it off and just redoing the bonds.
True. That's right. Yes, Joe?
Following up with trustee Baveza, in my opinion, the interest rate's so low. I personally, I love and like the way you set it up, Evan. We financed the whole $6 million. We're making money on our fund. You got $4.7 million sitting in the fund. You can always access it. If you can get it under 2% or 1.85 or some kind of interest rate for this for an extended period of time, you're never going to see that money at that low interest rate again.
I do have a question. I don't even know if you can answer this, but probably Al and I were the only ones that were around at the time. The police station was budgeted at $6 million, but Pat Harbor's group, who was doing the construction, everybody may remember, it was terrible times for employment. Remember, it was how quickly we forget what the recession was. And I remember that Mr. Harbor's bid was such that he really, I'm sure he made something on it, but he was just trying to keep people employed at the time. So he brought that bid in around $5 million, which was my memory, which begs the question, why is the debt $6 million?
Just because that's the interest that ultimately has accrued, that
On
the
that
carrying the 5 has brought it to 6.
For a decade?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. I was afraid that was the answer, but that would make sense to me.
One last, Evan, on our fund balance, are we earning just simple interest from the bank, or it's included in one of our municipality fund, where our manager does that, correct?
Yeah.
What's the average interest rate, or what is the average interest or rate of return on our fund balance?
If we've got about 4.7, 4.8, we're bringing back about $130,000 a year, which is about, no, I'm sorry, that's half of it, about $250 a year.
Rate would be somewhere around 6%.
Which is very, very good for a government, frankly.
Thank you.
We're very limited on what we can invest in as a government. We can't take many risks.
And I think we were netting out, as Al was pointing out, we were bringing in more than we were saying out.
6 to 2, it's right there, it's a 4% gain for us.
Right. So, which would lend to the argument that we should refinance. I'm kind of wondering what Russ thinks.
Well, may I?
Yes.
So I have some comments about the
So
debt.
you were prepared. See, I thought I was going to catch a cold.
Yeah, I'm a little prepared. So I would love for tonight to end up that we voted for option 3, pay off the debt in full. And here's why. Number one, we have the money, right? We have $4.8 million already towards debt service. All we need is to pull $1.3 million from the general fund. And oh, by the way, we are receiving $1.45 million from the American Reserve Plan, Rescue Plan, which we know we can't use that against debt, but that still goes in our coffers, and we have the ability to use that money for, I think, up to 2024, if I'm not mistaken. So it's basically zeroed out money when we use the $1.3 million. Number 2, refinancing options are expensive. Why incur $50,000, $75,000 more of expenses to our residents when we can just pay this thing off and be done with it? The third thing is the timing is now. Our future financial flexibility, I think, will be impaired due to the upcoming pension requirements of the police department. Currently, we're putting $970,000 per year towards the pension. In 4 years, that number moves up to 1.22. That money's got to come from somewhere, and if it has to come from our general fund, that really reduces the ability for us to do things like pay down debt. So, and the fourth option, or the fourth piece of this, is that our village finally has a solution-based village board. We have a board here that we can finally move forward, take care of some issues that have been nagging our village for a while, and I just think this is a perfect opportunity to get debt-free and not kick this thing down the road.
That's the can, okay.
That's the can. So thank you.
All right. So any further? Yes, Anita?
So I am more for option 2. I don't like option 1 because that's why we have an additional 1.3 million in debt, right? So we really don't want to increase that because eventually that needs to be paid off or retired. I would recommend paying off whatever we have in reserve, the 4.7 million, the remaining 1.3 million. Rather than issuing a bond, maybe talk to the local bank, see if they will issue a credit line. And
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
A credit line. Okay, and see what the rates are. We have to kind of shop it around and see what the rates are, interest rates are. And then plan to pay it off in the next 4 years or 5 years. Yes, we would access the general fund, but then we're not making a 1.3 million hole in the general fund. We're just kind of pacing ourselves so that if we have to change or pivot, we're able to do so. For whatever reason. But I am not in favor of option 3 because I feel if we take 1.3 million or 1.33 out of the general fund, we may feel that, oh, we need liquidity for other purposes.
Okay.
I would just note that Fifth Third has committed to giving us a line of credit at 1.5 at a 5-year term to refinance, to your point.
And it would be a fixed rate?
Fixed rate,
And
yes.
we can just calculate the payments over 5 years. That would be about, what, 272,000, actually less. 272,000 a year. Take it out of the general fund, but have a plan to just pay it off in 5 years.
Okay, I'd like to run these. By the way, I don't think we're under any, we don't need to make a decision tonight. Do we?
I don't think you need to make a decision tonight. However, I wouldn't wait months to make a decision.
I
I would
agree.
say within the
I
next
agree.
meeting, tonight or the next meeting in September.
Okay. I mean, these are, for Burr Ridge, these are big numbers. Okay?
Right, and I don't want to kick the can down the road
Right.
either.
Yeah, I don't, and to be fair, I mean, I like the, you know, I'm a trial lawyer, so I like the demonstration, but the boards weren't kicking it down, you know, in defense of prior boards, and I don't think they were kicking any can down. First of all, there were some severe economic times that this village had to go through that, you know, we have the luxury of having gotten through that. So, as Joe pointed out, as we're sitting here today, we're actually making more money than we're paying out. But to my point, which is why I raised it, I was afraid of the answer, but I was pretty sure what the answer was. We came in under budget because of that fiscal problem back then. We came in under $1 million, but in 10 years of financing this bond, that $1 million has been added on to the bond. So, I hear what Russ is saying, and I like a lot of what he's saying. I hear what you're saying. But the point is, we have 3 good options. I don't know that we need to decide tonight unless the 6 of you can come to a consensus. I really want to make sure everybody understands the numbers before we actually vote on it. So Al, yes, you had a question?
You know, sometimes I smile. We're looking, the village is a lot bigger, the village is a lot stronger and financially great. Just think the problem we had in the late 90s when we had 8 million to bring in the water. That was a discussion, let me tell you. But what I would like to know on this one is how much money will we get if we do it the way we've done it in the past, where we finance the bonds and then take our $5 million and get interest on it? How much money is that going to provide us every year? Do you have any idea on that?
I don't have the specific, we'll call it the margin of the net between the current rate and the new rate, just because I don't have the new rate in front of me. We would be saving money, though. There's no way we're going to have the current interest rate through an open sale. We will definitely save money, and I think that it's almost a for sure that the debt service fund would make money every year under option 1, under a competitive sale.
Because that's the way I look at it. As far as Trustee Smith, I agree. I don't like debt either, but if we can get 30, 50, 100,000 every year between the difference, I think that would be the way to go. And in no way does that interfere with our credit rating.
Right, and again, I don't want to I want everybody to have all the numbers, so I would like to see exactly what we're making and what we can project to make going forward, because our bond rate would be set, okay? But I'd like to know is what happens with that interest rate if we're taking our $4.7 million and keeping it in the bank. I'd like to know what that delta is going to be, and could the board reasonably expect it to grow or not? And then, you know, I am interested in whether or not if we paid off some of it, what the advantages are. If we, you know, just for example, we've put half of it towards the debt and kept half of it. I don't know. But I don't think we have enough of the financial information tonight to make the decision. But I think we were able to get it and maybe make the decision in the next 2 weeks. Plus, we could get some more input from Anna Marie and others, yes.
I just have two questions. One, so let's say we do option one and we refinance it 5 years down the road. What guarantee do we have that the interest rates are exorbitantly high?
I think there's a guarantee that it won't be lower than they are now.
Exactly, so they will be higher,
Right.
and that would change the equation, and I don't know what that would be. And if we were making so much money on our debt, then why do we have a $1 million difference? I'm doing simple
No,
math.
I mean, it's growing, so, I mean, you're getting money in,
But our loan has grown
Yeah.
by 1 million,
Right.
right? And did we really make that much money from our?
It's kind of like the
right.
US government keep raising the debt ceiling, but they think they're getting money
Right,
in.
and I don't want to be like
Right.
the US government.
Right. I think that's good. You certainly don't want to be like Springfield either.
Yes.
So I get that. Yes, Russ.
So on page 3 on the commentary, where I think we kind of need to focus a little bit too as a board is that we have future expenses coming up. You know, we won't be here except for maybe trustee Pelveza. But 5 years, 10 years from now, you know, it's already here. Architects are initiating an assessment of public works facility needs. You, Mayor, have talked about this facility here probably could use some work. We can't just keep building our debt down the road and not take care of our past debt issues. We have to close out debt to potentially bring on more debt in these types of projects.
Yeah, I think one of the, I think people are in agreement with this. You know, what is the best fiscal alternative? We could, you know, can we pay this debt off? And then if we do need, because you're right, I am going to come to you about this building. You know, this building needs work. It's unfortunate it does, but this building's been around for 35 years or so, and unfortunately, it's got issues. Can we then go out and borrow money? And probably the answer, of course, is yes. And would it be at these low interest rates? So maybe we can get the debt paid off, but still be in a position where we turn around and get financing to do some of the things that we can do. I don't know. I'd like to hear from people that know finance. I don't know I know they ask the questions. I don't know the answers. So, I mean, I think everybody likes the idea of paying off our debt and being in a position where we could do that, okay? So I'd like to know what the upside of that, other than getting rid of the debt, what's the upside of our future ability to improve our infrastructure and still meet all of our obligations? It's also good to have a certain amount of money in reserve, and I want to be sure how much reserve we're going to end up. If we were to pay it all off, how much additional reserve will we have? I think we still have even more reserve, which is, again, a testament to the way these boards have been run over the years. Yes.
So, you know, I know over the years we've made just about 4-point margin, it sounds like, between our debt service fund and what we're paying. But the underlying asset has grown from $5 million to over $6 million. So that's a concern because it'll continue growing. And so, you know, the cost of capital is cheap, which I enjoy. I think it's good. Debt can be good because it builds our credibility, maintains our status to go out and find more debt. So, you know, but paying the whole thing off, taking money from our savings, you know, there are a lot more expenses than the Village Hall. We have an aging water system, which is a huge expense. And especially in the Carriage Greens area, where that was one of our first subdivisions in Burr Ridge.
Yeah,
And that's
Carriage
something that's
Way,
on my
yeah.
mind between that aging water system that we have and our police pension. So I want to make sure that we make that right decision and that we explore all the options
Right.
that we have available.
So to your point, which is, okay, and, pay it all off, and, people in the back would clap, let's pay off our debt, that always sounds great, and it may be the answer, but what I'd like to know is, are we then gonna be in a position where we have to go out and borrow money to do what we need to do in the future? So I don't know, I don't wanna trade debt for debt.
Right.
So, I wanna see what that balance is. You might be right, and so I'd like to know what we have left in reserves, and I'd like to know how quickly Ramsey and the Garbers are gonna be bringing more money into us, I don't think we can count on that, as one of our residents said. So, again, we have options. This kind of decision, I don't think we should make in this one meeting.
Right.
But very good points are being brought up, and I'd like to get more information. Yes, Joe?
With the information that Evan will bring probably to the next meeting or to all of us in a packet, it's really simple. If Evan, you're telling us 200, 250,000, use 250 as a roughly the spread. You borrow $6 million, you take the spread, you pay down the spread, or you put it to the end, you're at $5 million at the end of 5 years. So I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Trustee Smith, being also in the financial planning business. When the interest rate is this low, taking the money to pay off the $5 million from our fund, what happens when we have a cripple, where we have we have a problem with the water? We have 5 main, I think Dave would say 5 water mains that are 50 years old. We've got 2 water tower issues. I'm on the board with Trustee Pavese and Trustee Francis. So we got enough other issues that are gonna come surprising. So if we spend all that money, the banks they like to loan money when you don't need it. We're in a situation where we don't need it. So you take the $6 million at the one, maybe you get 1.5 or 1.75. You have the money. We can always pay it off. You have the money. So I would kick that can down. I'm not concerned about that. I got more issues than trying to pay a 5% interest rate.
All right. Yes, Russ?
So just a quick commentary. Remember, we do have the money coming from the American Rescue Plan. We've already received, I think, $650,000 already. We have another $650,000 coming, so we will not be cash poor. And also, let's not forget, there is at least $1 trillion coming from the infrastructure plan, from the government. So that can be used for water infrastructure and everything else. So there's a lot of stuff happening outside of Burr Ridge that we gotta have our eyes on, and I just think this is all part of the big overall plan if we wanna take care of what's here at home and take care of the future needs of water and things such as that.
Right. The only caveat I would have about the $1 trillion infrastructure plan. I was gonna say, first of all, I'm hearing 3. I don't know where you got 1, but whatever it is, what has also been told is that there are lots of other communities that have lots greater needs than a Burr Ridge. And I think the Burr Ridges of the world, understandably, probably correctly, are gonna be at the end of that line when those trillions of dollars are gonna be given out. Because, again, this is a special place, as we call it. We don't have the fiscal problems that the vast majority of municipalities have in this nation. So I wouldn't be counting on seeing too many of those infrastructure dollars. I hope I'm wrong, but I certainly don't want to plan on what the federal government's ever going to give to little old Burr Ridge here compared to many other communities. Yes.
So I'm hearing support to come back in 2 weeks to have greater detail on the options presented tonight. I would also like to throw out the possibility of incorporating something of an ARPA workshop, an agenda item into that. I think that Trustee Smith, your point is well heard and well taken, that we are receiving $1.45 million. We actually got $720,000 last week. The first half of our tranche from the federal government. We'll get the second half next year. But I saw the check, and the check is in the bank for the first half. So that money's on hand. There are some restrictions, as I've talked to some of you about, but we will have a lot of freedom as to how we can use those monies. I would like to recommend that when we come back to talk about the debt, We also, in tandem, talk about ARPA and where possible uses of those monies could be. Again, recognizing that we have 3.5 more years to spend that money. We don't have to spend it on September 27th. But I think it would be good to have an on-the-record discussion about some of the, we'll call it priorities that the village has, that staff has identified over the summer, and we have identified some priorities regarding things that should be brought to your attention regarding other funds, buildings and facilities. I think it's been well said tonight, well documented, this facility itself has not received significant investment in a long time. Other facilities require some investments as well that we don't normally see. But I'm hoping to hear some support for that idea, to come back and combine this with a kind of a more strategic discussion. Sounds like you guys want to think 5 years ahead on the debt, which is great. We should be thinking about 5 years ahead on all of our major financial assets. Is that
Yeah, absolutely.
a good idea we want to pursue?
And know exactly what the numbers are. You, again, we got 720, 635. Let's make sure we know. I know that we still have the $800,000 that we negotiated 10 years ago with Opus when they did not, when they were obligated to build the bridge over to Wolf Road. And we negotiated at that time a check of $800,000 still sitting in our bank account. So.
I think that discussion will incorporate a lot of things. I think there are assets that are not often talked about, such as we own the property at the end of 71st Street that is just vacant land. That will be worth something on the open market. We still have rustic acres. We have to do something with that, and we do need to make public works facilities improvements at some point just because of the age of the rustic acres. We need to do something about that. We have the land to sell. I think there's a lot of good options that can be talked about and flushed out, and a good, solid, coherent plan can be made about the future of Burr Ridge thanks to this discussion. So I have my homework, and I know what to bring back.
Okay, and I think that you're hearing from the board that a comprehensive plan is something that it's very interested in. Yes?
Thank you.
Trustee Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Welty. You summarized before I had a chance to speak. So, a couple of questions. I participated in the 2013 and 2017 discussions on this matter, and in those discussions, we were told that the interest being paid to the village on the money in the debt service fund exceeded the interest we were paying on the bonds. Yet now I'm being told that our debt went up $1 million since 2009. So I need to see some crystal clear numbers on how that transpired. One thing, so these bonds were first initiated in 2009, renewed in 2013, again in 2017, and now we're contemplating renewing them in 2021. One thing that's significant that has happened between 2017 and 2021 is that we sold the pump center property. So in 2017, we were $1.6 million less in this debt service fund than we are today. So we're at $4.8 million. We were at $3.2 million. So now today we're in a much better position to pay off this debt. I'm not in favor of refinancing this all. We don't have crystal balls. None of us do. So my thinking is that we could earmark some money from the reserve and then pay the reserve back when the debt service, when the Rustic Acres property is sold, and then pay this debt off completely and stop kicking the can down the road. So one other question. If we had we were talking about bond ratings, AAA, AA1. If we had no outstanding police pension liability, meaning we were 100% funded, would we have a AAA rating?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So that is the only criteria. Okay, thank you. I'm trying to understand finances.
I should say it's probably 98% of the reason why we don't have a AAA rating.
Okay.
If that clarifies.
So that Rustic Acres property, the 71st Street property, bridge that'll never be built. I think we have some opportunity here to retire this debt in full and then move on to the other projects. Yes, we have aging infrastructure. Yes, we have a water tower that water towers that need repairs. Yes, we have water mains that are failing, but those are going to happen no matter what those problems are going to persist no matter what we do today on this bond, on this outstanding police station debt. So.
I agree.
Thank you.
And then in trying to see, I think the one thing we can assume is that interest rates won't be lower.
Right.
Okay? So you know, no one's going to know what those interest rates are going to be in 5 years, but I think the discussion should assume that they will be higher. So the question is there a better use of cash now, or you keep the cash so that you don't have to borrow in 5 years? I don't know the answer. I know only to ask the questions. Yes?
One other point I forgot to mention, I'm also in favor of a workshop where we the board sits down, rolls up our sleeves, and we come together with a 5-year plan for the finances of this village.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely what all of us are talking about tonight, given the fact that the bond is, the debt of the police department coming up. We might as well look at all of our, what we have in reserve, healthy reserves, what we know some of the infrastructure situations are. So we have some things in front of us that the crystal ball's a little fuzzy, but we have the crystal ball in front of us. So I totally agree of the sentiment of the board to get together, and we'll have that workshop. I'll find out what everybody's schedules are, and we'll pick a date. Yes, Joe?
Mr. Administrator, would you also then bring in some information on the police pension? Now, do we pay the very minimum? Or are we paying it, because that's always trustee Paveza's fair one, the police pension. So are we paying the very minimums, or are we paying what we're asked to pay? Because the state's not requiring the amount of money we're paying now anymore, am I correct?
You're paying the state minimum, which is
Paying the
below
state
the
minimum.
actuarial
Paying what the
recommendation.
state
What the
requires,
state's
isn't that?
requiring us. And of all the other village or municipalities, how far are we in the top 10, bottom 10, you know, in with regards, is everyone else failing and we're paying and no one else is? I want to make sure that's added into our finances.
We'll bring that forward.
Right. And I can assure you that we are in very good relative position. No one would ever recommend being 100% funded. We are still in around 67%, 68%.
About 68, I think we're in the top third.
Yeah.
I should say that as of last year, we were 64. However, we're going to get our actuarial report like this week, very, very soon. I expect it to go up, honestly.
Thank you.
So we should be in that, where we have been traditionally for the last decade. We've always been there, which is ahead of many, many villages. You know, you can pull where they are. And again, we have only the police. Some villages have fire departments too, so we're lucky. So we're in good stead. Could we do better? Of course. If we had the money, maybe we discussed that already. Remember last year we talked about, should we be putting $100,000 more, for example? Should we put a lump sum of $1 million? And we talked about how that money works or doesn't work under those scenarios. So that's all, again, something we should all sit down and.
Your philosophy on the crystal ball, there's a guarantee it's not going to be at 2% in 5 years.
Right. And I think that's true. We might as well have that discussion. So see, this is all good stuff, yes.
You know, when we talk about the police pension, the thing that I think about is how many villages are in the 50s. We're in the high 60% funded, and I would say 60% of the villages are in the 50%.
Or much lower.
A lot of them a lot lower.
A lot lower.
Like you said, we're in the top third, but most of them are way low.
But we have to do what Burr Ridge can do and should do, and so we'll get the numbers. I think it's very important that we understand what we're working with, okay? Which we will get in the next 2 weeks. We'll make a decision about the police. Well, do we make the decision about the bond next meeting without having the workshop yet? Unless you want to, I don't know if we can get a workshop in the next 2 weeks.
I'd like to talk to our finance consultant after the meeting just to think about best ways to present this information. There's a lot going on tonight. We've got the police station debt, the police pension debt, the ARPA, some other funds have been brought up, facilities. I'd like to just have an offline meeting with staff just to make sure we're presenting this in the most effective way possible.
Right, so I will communicate with you over the next 2 weeks. It may tell you that we're not going to have that decision at the next board meeting, but we are going to have it in October, by October, because I think we should take it all together, not make a decision on the police, which is the largest debt. I mean, it is the debt. That'll drive everything else, so I don't think we should make that decision without deciding overall.
That's our only debt
Yes,
for the whole village.
right,
Is the police
Right.
station debt.
right. It's the only debt. And again, we were going to pay it off with sale of property 10 years ago, except all the real estate values plummeted.
Right.
The interest rates plummeted, so we decided to finance it. Now, selling rustic acres might be an answer, but what do we get for rustic acres?
And how long has it been for sale?
Forever. We've had a couple of offers that we've said no to. And I know that, Mayor Straub had offers, and he didn't bring to the board because they made no fiscal sense at the time. That's my understanding of those. There have been offers, but not offers that would be in the best interest of the village. Okay? All right. And anybody want, any questions you want, please filter them in to Evan and me so that we get you answers. Okay? All right? All right, so that's our, unless there's anything more, that's our discussion tonight on the 2017 debt certificates. Yes, come on up.
Alice Crampett, 7515 Drew. I just have one question. We've been talking about all these things, which are good. I'm concerned that we have not paid anything down on the police department all these years. And so I'd be a little more in favor of paying all or some of it off. But my concern also is because we haven't paid anything down on the police station, is that going to affect our borrowing power at all? We've talked about the other ratings and all that, but what about our borrowing power down the road?
I think it's a function of how much debt we have. We don't have a lot of debt for this village. But I think what you're hearing from this board tonight is they want to pay some of that down, if not all of it.
Right.
It hasn't affected us yet. We still are at that AA1, whatever it is.
Okay, but
so
is that related to borrowing as well? I mean.
Yes, that would be
That's
our
that's what
ability to
you're
borrow
referring
is
to.
what we're referring to, yes.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Yes, sure, Alice. Anyone else have a question? Yes, come on up.
Thank you. Eddie Downs, 8425 Walden. Just a quick question. Trustee Smith, you mentioned taking the money out of the general fund, and a few others have as well. What's the general fund at? What's the total dollar amount of the general fund, and would it be impactful to just take that money out and pay it off?
So we always measure fund balance against how much revenue we bring in. So an average year right now is about $9 million in revenue. Our fund balance is about $5.3 million. So we're about 60% fund balance. We have a policy of 20% minimum fund balance.
Great.
So we're pretty well funded.
Yeah, sounds like. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Again, all good options. Let's make sure we have all the data, okay? Anyone else? Okay, that'll move us on to item 9, which is public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any subject? You have up to 5 minutes. Yes?
No one would stay up there. Okay, Eddie Downs, 8425 Walden. Just I want to go back to the ordinance, the multiple ordinances that were passed this evening around the business district. Congrats to the board for coming up with this plan. I think it's a good plan, and I look forward to seeing the benefits of it. I learned a lot about it in this meeting tonight, and from my wife earlier today, who brought it to my attention that it was, there was some discussion about it on social media and the internet. But without that, I never would have known that this was going on tonight. So my question and my feedback is, as a resident, how come we weren't notified of this business, this idea of creating a business district, which I think will benefit everybody in the long run, although it may have, the residents may have thought that 1% was a tax and may not have liked it at first brush, but can you answer why it wasn't brought to the residents' attention, a mailer or something like that?
See, this is an ongoing problem, I suppose. When this is first on, what you heard me say was, let's make sure all the residents get as much information about this as possible. And we try to do that. We put it out there on our website. We try to notify the HOAs. We do what we can do. There is a bit of responsibility of the residents to see what's going on in the village, follow our agendas, look at our website. We don't ring your doorbells and say, hey, we're going to put this item on the agenda. So this board and I spoke, we wanted this on the agenda several times. so that the residents knew it was coming, including tonight. I beg to differ with you a little bit. We tried as best we could, but
Two newspaper publications.
two newspaper publications, can you explain what
Button on our
else?
website that
One
says
second.
Business Development District.
And I put it right there, I asked it to be on the front page,
It's on the
didn't I?
front page.
So
Okay.
I just want to, just for the record, just to clarify, but I appreciate the question. I think Mayor is correct. So we actually, the law calls for 2 public notices. We did 3 in 2 separate papers. We did the Sun Times and the Doings, regional and local paper. We had a button on our website for the past month, held 2 open houses that were held through public notices here in this building. We mailed it to everybody downtown. We put it on our social. We also mailed everybody in the downtown a letter suggesting that this be something they should be aware of. So every property owner downtown, every business owner downtown, every resident downtown received a direct letter. I think that the sentiment is correct that we're doing a lot to try and streamline our communications to focus them. It can be hard to get everybody on one channel though, because not everybody's on one channel nowadays. So certainly appreciate it. I would just plug that we're having a brand new newsletter coming out right now. It's all via MailChimp. We're having really nice feedback from that right now. But I would encourage you to sign up for the Oak Leaf. The Oak Leaf is where we put all of our important topics, all of our goings on, all of our events, all of our public hearings are going to be in that Oak Leaf. And it's going to be a very easy to use email. It comes out twice a month. We have a great agency that's working on it. We're getting really good open rates and engagement with that. But we're trying to make a very concerted effort to make sure that communication is clear, whereas it may not have been in the past. We've been doing a lot of work to try and be open and transparent about when things are occurring. But to Mayor's point, though, we want to work with residents to find ways that we can reach them where they are. But we do want to make sure that we put it out there as many places as possible. Sometimes there's communication overkill. We want to make sure we don't run into that. So apologies if you didn't see it, but at the same time, we have put a lot out there and we want to make sure we continue to work hard and make our residents aware of what's already occurring, and what's already delivering information out to the public.
Appreciate that. For me, and maybe other residents as well, I don't frequent the website all that often, although maybe after this discussion, I'll change my thinking on that and check in more often. But for me, maybe nothing works better like the old mail system. If I'd have went to the mailbox and saw a letter from Burr Ridge, I certainly would have opened it and gave it a read like I always do. But thank you for the discussion there. Other thing on the same topic is it sounds like this is going to the planning committee. Am I saying that correct after this?
Plan Commission, no. It doesn't go, no. The question that Alice asked was, is the Plan Commission still going to be involved? The Plan Commission handles zoning.
Okay.
And those types of things. This is a finance plan.
Okay.
That hopefully will give more work to the Plan Commission because more tenants will be coming and more developers will be coming. But this ordinance does not now go to the Plan Commission.
Understand. What I had written down, I'll just say what I was thinking is there a way to set targets for that organization as they start to get this additional income, targets for them to bring in businesses? Hey, we want to fill, we're 30% vacant now, we want to be less than 15% vacant in 2 years. I don't know, some target, some goal. Nothing works better than a goal. You got something to work towards. Even if you don't make it, you try, you set yourself up to try and do that. Just something for the board to think about.
Right, and the EDC has been doing that too. Not only are we asking, giving them goals, we're also trying to give ideas of what we'd like to see come in terms of businesses come to Burr Ridge. Again, we can't be passive anymore in this era. We have to be as proactive as possible. So I know Mr. Hassan has been very communicative with us in terms of what he's doing, and we've been giving him feedback. And as you hear, he's a member of the Economic Development Committee too. Mr. Garber is spending a lot of time hopefully rehabbing a lot of the County Line Square, and we've been working with him, trying to get more businesses there. He's more fortunate. He's got more businesses or less vacancy than the Village Center. The Village Center is where we've been concentrating. But believe me, there's been a lot of interaction. This board and I, frankly, we are not sitting back. We are trying to make sure we have 100% occupancy in our retail. And then I want to look at TCF and get, that's the biggest parcel. It's 16 acres, to give you an idea. The Village Center itself is 20 acres. So we still have another 16 acres where we can bring a lot of business to this village, and that's certainly something I and this board want to do.
Great, look forward to it. Mr. Mayor, trustees, thank you for the minute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else, public comment? Okay. That's the end of public comment. Okay, that takes us to 10, reports and communication from village officials.
All
Anita,
right.
how are the concerts going?
Yes, the concerts are amazing. I've pretty much attended most of them, and they are packed to the gills. People are having a good time. It's just a wonderful atmosphere. Really nice to see so much activity, good energy, and just merriment around us. I wanted to share with everyone that we are going to have the car show on October 9th now, so it's been changed. In the past, I was saying October 10th, but due to staffing issues, we decided to have everything on one day. So the car show, the staging will be from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and the judging will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Hannah Wyant, the lady who's running everything, she is looking for volunteers for judging, for setup. So if anybody would like to volunteer or knows of anyone who would really enjoy volunteering, please reach out to her. You can call the village number 630-654-8181. Her extension is 2120. She needs 3 to 6 volunteers. In conjunction with this, we're going to have the Taste of Burr Ridge, where we're going to showcase some of our restaurants, but a lot of other restaurants. There will be food. There will be a lot of fun. And that will be from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Also October 9th. Right?
October 9th, yes. So they'll be simultaneously, the car show will be in the lot by Lifetime and behind the Village Center, and all of this will be around the greens. We're also trying to get some food trucks. So once again, if anybody would like to volunteer, please reach out to Hannah. If you and do tell your friends, family, neighbors, extended family to come and attend this. There will be more information about tickets. There will be certain incentives to purchasing the tickets in advance. So October 9th, one-day event. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Anybody else? Yes, trustee?
So following up on what the gentleman was talking about with regards to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals, should a specific proposal come to the village for development of, say, the 2-point-something acre parcel on the northeast corner, or redevelopment of the TCF Bank property, those proposals would come before the Planning Commission for their review and approval, following the normal process that we currently have in place. However, if we are contemplating some future redevelopment of TCF Bank, our sub-area plan portion of the comprehensive plan would then be out of date. So I would suggest that we take a look at that and bring that up to date so we can account for any future businesses we may want to attract to this area. So.
Okay, good point. I guess that's another thing that gets impacted. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan.
Anybody else? All right, I have a few things, specifically as to the concerts. First of all, one concert was canceled because of concern of weather. Turned out not to, weather passed us by and turned out to be a nice night, and I got a couple of calls about, why was the concert canceled. Let me assure you that this village will always put safety first, even if it maybe turns out to be the wrong call. We'd rather err on the side of public safety, which is the -- one concern of government. And so that's why that one concert was canceled. There was a real weather concern at the time. The next concert, though, I wanted to give a little bit more plug, is a band called Strung Out, which will perform 70s classic rock music. And then the following week will be the 4 C Notes, which is a 4 Seasons music tribute. So for the little bit older crowd, 70s, and the 4 Seasons, the next two concerts. I have asked Evan to look into declaring something of a moratorium on the TCF bank site. It's what we also call red flagging it for the owners. I've been trying to, frankly, get the attention of the owners. TCF Bank was sold probably 2 years ago. When did we have our lunch? In 2019 to Chemical Bank, I think it's called, out of Detroit. And their first priority was to get rid of their overlapping branches, their brick and mortar. And this site, although I kept asking about it, was down on their list. I'm hoping to get their attention because also a potential developer came to me that has considerable funds and considerable experience and wants to develop possibly that TCF property. So since we're going to have some preliminary interest and some preliminary plans, I understand that there is a statute that gives us the ability to red flag it or declare a moratorium. So that's something you may be hearing from me on in the near future. And the purpose of that is to get the attention of Chemical Bank and let them know that we need to get that property developed consistent with what we've been doing tonight, okay? And then finally, as you know, Evan and we've been working on a lot of staff over the last year, and so I wanted to just explain a few things. Interim Village Administrator Evan Walter and I have spent a good part of this past year discussing and proposing recently to the board a reorganization of the administration and finance staff to better meet the daily operations of the village and the needs of the residents. I told Evan to work with a clean slate and model the overall staff to the realities of being a village of 11,000 residents with scores of businesses stretched over about 6 square miles. This endeavor was initiated by my discussions in mid-2020 with former village administrator Doug Pollock, who was interested in retiring earlier than planned if he could return to community development and planning, his passion. We made those arrangements consistent with the best interests of the village. Village finances, too, were scrutinized at this time, especially given the consequences of closing some businesses due to COVID-19. When I became mayor again in May of 2019, I worked with administration and finance staff with the understanding that Amy Nelson was being groomed to become the finance director. It became apparent to me that Ms. Nelson had the knowledge and dedication for the board and I to explore the timing of her transition to village director. To village finance director. In anticipation of that transition, we retained Anna Marie Mapes, to a retired finance director, to evaluate our finance department needs and staffing. Anna Marie did just that and gave Evan and I great feedback on our finance department. I was disappointed when Amy Nelson announced her departure earlier this summer. Amy was a good fit for this village, and her departure presented us with a replacement challenge. But why reinvent the wheel, as they say? Evan turned back to Anna Marie and discussed how she might fill the role of finance director for us. Thus, we have engaged Anna Marie Mapes, who will serve as finance director on a contract basis that will allow us to utilize current finance staff to fully meet our accounting and budgeting requirements. The village is prepared to implement a plan that will streamline the village finance department that best meets the needs of this village. With ultimate oversight from the Board of Trustees, I now believe that Burr Ridge is appropriately staffed and will remain, as a result, a very special place. Thank you. That's all the remarks I have for tonight, and with that, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn to the next meeting on September 27th at 7 p.m.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Great discussion tonight.
I can't.